Buenos días, chicos, chicas. Seguimos con los niveles del 23 al 35 de Golf Club Wasteland. Así que vamos a por este platinillo.
When somebody sits down and writes this all up for the history books, it might just be men like me they'll be hailing as heroes. It's men like me who saved humanity. Men like me who took us further than we ever dreamt possible.
Radio nostalgia from Mars.
Wow, some pretty heavy stuff. Reminds us that all kinds made it up here to Mars, but we're all in it together now, and remain creatures of the world. You're a tight beam to Radio Nostalgia from Mars, music for the lost days of Earth.
Every morning I like to look at the sky. I whisper a word or two, and it blows right back at you. The smell of coffee and the bread. The news is sad, the children laugh. You were in me, now out of bed, ready for the big bad world. Hello, creatures of the world. Creatures of the world. Creatures of the world. Every morning I wish that we had a sky. I whisper a prayer or two, but they bounce right back off you. The smell of eggs and hot concrete, the papers twist, the children sing, pulling back the pale white sheets. The city wolves show their sharp steel teeth. Hello, creatures of the world. Hello, creatures of the world. Hello, creatures of the world. Every morning I reach up to what was the sky. I whisper a poem or two, but they seem quite lost on you. The smell of sweat and blood from stone. The news is lost, the children gone. Enter the rat race, step out of home. Embrace our new cold, skyless dome. Hello, creatures of the world. Hello, creatures of the world. Hello, creatures of the world.
You're home away from home. Radio nostalgia from Mars.
Creatures of the world. Now that the tractor takes us back. Stefan Milenkovic, pining for blue skies, fast musing on the games we play. Just a reminder that until further notice, there is a moratorium on all team leaders playing card and board games with their teams, following an incident over a game of Monopoly in Section C. All senior section team leaders will convene for emergency counseling.
Fueron tus ojos o tu boca, fueron tus manos o tu voz. Fue a lo mejor la impaciencia de tanto esperar tu llegada, mas no sé decirte cómo fue. No sé explicarme qué pasó, pero de ti me enamoré.
Slušajte Radio Nostalgiju sa Marsa.
Thank you, Yamil. What a wonderful story. Reminds us that life is about so much more than just base survival. Well, living in space has always been challenging, and here's a song that pokes a little fun at living in cramped quarters. Needs no introduction. Argue all you want. It's a classic.
Take a moment, relax, and remember with radio nostalgia from Mars.
A Russian and an American work together in space. A very different sight from the Cold War arms race, whether Kubrick or Tarkovsky, Solaris or 2001. Melville or Dostoevsky, Yesenin or Jack London, two astronauts argued about art, values and international. российский космонавт. The American astronaut. Скучаю по жене и дому. Сказал российский космонавт. Also miss my wife. Venture to the astronaut. Two astronauts argue about art. That is an international relations. Two astronauts Как светит солнце, свет Бога, как прекрасна голубая земля. Говорится, ты из Роскосмоса в Индии. Search my friend with hope on a night, on a mission for mankind.
Muzika iz starih dobrih dana. Radio nostalgija sa Marsa.
Anna Church and There, and arguably the first interplanetary hit, Two Astronauts, an anthem to the Great Evacuation, and certainly one of our most popular requests. Speaking of requests, please follow Habitat protocols for sanitation. No liquids other than bodily in the main bin, including pee. Some of you don't like it, but all water is recycled, so pee into the funnel installed next to your toilet, please. Speaking of pee and poop, we recently welcomed our first official Martian to the colony, and our next caller, Sophia, tells us what it's like to be a new mother on Mars.
I'm so happy we moved to Mars. It was a project I funded from the very beginning. I knew it had potential and I trusted the amazing team working on it. As angel investors, my husband and I got early placements in the ARC ship. I'm so grateful.
Just as precious as a new life is the water that sustains it. You may have noticed that it doesn't rain here on Mars, so another friendly reminder that showers are strictly limited to 30 seconds each, with no exceptions. Corporate is looking into extending this time frame, but is meeting resistance from Section BC, who want lab rat urine to be excluded from the water recycling program, which would actually reduce allocated shower times to 27 seconds. Want to say in this? Join our sectional weekly meetings and vote while sipping on a relaxing tube of OMAS. Feels good, as it should.
Radio nostalgia from Mars.
High speed on the Autobahn, like spaceship Earth around the sun. A diver's breath in a deep blue sea, bubbles like your thoughts of me. Make up sex on a summer's day, like an airplane on a runaway. Melts like ice cream in the sun. Desperate man taking his chance, quick as he said your first dance. Keep your eyes open and don't you blink, you'll miss the boat before it sinks. Starlight passes quickly, life bursts like a bomb, like a child in the morning, you'll soon be gone. So hold it close and don't waste your breath, 'cause love passes quickly.
It flies by. You're home away from home. Radio nostalgia from Mars.
Life passes quickly indeed. Another blast from the past, reminding us to savor each moment as it flies by. Speaking of savoring things, the Health and Well-being Department would like us to remind you that the popping and fizzing noise your dried food makes when you're adding water is perfectly normal and does not mean it has gone off or is contaminated. The Health and Wellbeing Department would also like to take this moment to remind you to take your bone density pills twice a week now, as it was discovered the original dose is off by a factor of 2. Right, on with the show. Music and dancing have always been a mainstay of stress relief and letting go. Our next caller Merva recalls her teenage clubbing days with vivid memories of awkward first kisses and a life-altering club experience invoking a philosophical epiphany.
Stories, memories, the good old days, original sources, authentic tales, hope, inspiration, drama, radio nostalgia from Mars.
So, when I was a kid in Vienna, in high school we used to learn all the German poets, like Best Friends, Goethe and Schiller, but the first poet that actually spoke to me was Heinrich Heine. I knew a couple of Heine's poems by heart that are now buried somewhere deep in my mind, but one passage about burning books stuck with me, yes, even till today. So, just to fast forward to college, just a couple of years before the Great Catastrophe, I was walking around Berlin with a group of friends coming from a house party. I still remember that apartment smelling of potatoes. Yes, because we always made pommes and drank schnapps before heading out. Yeah. And after that, I remember passing by Alexanderplatz on that very, very hot night. And next to me was a guy I liked. We kissed before, but I can't say I really remember that. Probably from all the drinking, or maybe he was just a bad kisser. But I can still feel this sticky, sweaty, and very ambivalent feeling of us holding hands. Yeah, anyways, we popped some pills and I felt cold sweat dripping down my neck. Ugh. And I'm sure my guy thought I was completely crazy. And then out of nowhere, the Heine lines clearly came to me. I sat there motionless, surrounded by the ugly, hypnotic, delirious atmosphere. And no effort to recall Heine's lines. They were just there, planted in my head. Wilde, düstere Zeiten dröhnen heran und der Prophet, der eine neue Apokalypse schreiben wollte, musste ganz neue Bestien erfinden. Und zwar so erschreckliche, dass die älteren johannischen Tiersymbole dagegen nur sanfte Täubchen und Amoretten wären. Die Götter verhüllen ihr Antlitz aus Mitleid mit den Menschenkindern, ihren langjährigen Pfleglingen und vielleicht zugleich auch aus Besorgnis über das eigene Schicksal. And yeah, 2 years later, I ended up here, on Mars.
It does bring back memories of university days and sweaty club nights. Earthly hedonism at its finest. For the record, corporate does not endorse or advocate the use of psychedelic drugs, and reminds you, dear listeners, that Class A drugs are just as illegal here on Mars as they were on Earth. Okay, disclaimer out of the way, we actually have a surprise for Merva. We tracked down that weird song in her head and dug it out of the archives for all to hear. Grab a tube of OMAS and enjoy the ride while sipping on pure calm.
The deepest tunes, the warmest memories. Radio nostalgia from Mars.
Repetition, 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 repetition.
You're listening to Radio Nostalgia from Mars.
Well, what can I say? No wonder that song got into her head.
Si os ha gustado la guía de Gold Club Wasteland, dadle un like, suscribiros y campanita. Hasta la próxima, cazadores de trofeos y platinos.